today I would like to welcome VJ that will be presenting IBM's Sterling Secure Proxy. VJ is a Senior Offering Manager for IBM's Managed File Transfer offerings, where he is responsible for IBM Sterling Control Center Monitor and Secure Proxy solutions. He also oversees strategy for hybrid cloud and containerization for IBM Sterling B2B collaboration offerings. VJ has been with IBM for over 10 years and has successfully led the technology solutions in managed file transfer, procurement, and supply chain. We also have Stephen and Naru online. Stephen is the development and L3 manager for Secure Proxy, and Naru is the chief architect for Secure Proxy. We all know Dirk by now. He is the IBM Worldwide Sales Leader for B2B collaboration. Then from TrustLink's team, we have Michael, myself, Pierre, and Igmar. Most of you know TrustLink, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview. TrustLink provides solutions and services that enable our customers to enhance information exchange and business process integration within the business between different systems, business units, and locations, but also with external business partners. We operate one of the leading SWIFT bureaus, providing SWIFT connectivity to more than 100 banks and corporates in South Africa and the rest of Africa. During the past 15 years, TrustLink has acquired expert knowledge around security, automation, monitoring, and integration of all data flows. We are the preferred business partner for several leading international technology solutions, including IBM. TrustLink is the local Sterling B2B integration partner of IBM and jointly provide B2B solutions, technical skills, and support to the local customer base. Our customer base spans across 22 countries in Africa, and it includes Tier 1 banks and central banks. Our help desk service is operated in line with service level agreements. The service is used to log and trace all incidents and service requests. TrustLink's professional services team are trained and, where applicable, certified by our partners to undertake the installation and customization of their solutions, as well as ongoing support. We have developed a large pool of skills in order to support customers with knowledge and to enable customers to make use of the rich functionality of their solution. TrustLink also acts as an integration partner for many large corporates, managing the host-to-host and SWIFT integration from their back-office systems to the banks and tax integration to SAR. Before I hand over to VJ, I would like to share a short video as an introduction to the IBM Secure Proxy solution.
Moving data efficiently is a critical component for success in any business today. As leased lines give way to the benefits of the Internet, so too comes the need for additional levels of security as trusted information comes in closer proximity to the public Internet. Malicious attacks put businesses at risk every minute of every day. A breach of any kind undermines customer confidence and brand loyalty. This, combined with more stringent regulatory compliance, puts security as a top business priority. Sterling Secure Proxy is a demilitarized zone-based application proxy that secures and shields internal file transfer servers from the public Internet. Providing more than mere encryption and access control, Sterling's application proxy acts as a secure intermediary, a stand-in server that validates trading partner identity while sequestered in a sterile holding area, the DMZ. Only after successful validation will the proxy establish a separate session from the DMZ to the trusted zone, allowing the trading partner to safely communicate with the internal network. Until then, Sterling Secure Proxy creates an impassable disconnect between where your rich data resides and Internet dangers lurk. Depending upon your needs, Sterling Secure Proxy can provide multiple layers of protection, a defense-in-depth approach to securing your network. Sterling Secure Proxy incorporates firewall navigation best practices, SSL session breaks, and policy enforcement to keep network and data transactions secure. Multi-factor authentication provides strong validation of trading partner identity. Protocol inspection and command filtering stop malicious attacks before they even get close to your trusted zone. And flexible deployment options meet a wide range of security requirements. Sterling Secure Proxy is a multi-protocol enterprise solution that protects you and your business from Internet attacks, supports your growing trading partner community effortlessly, provides operational continuity and improved performance with clustering for high availability and load balancing, and reduces your total cost of ownership. Make all of your Internet-based file transfers safer and more efficient with Sterling Secure Proxy.
Thanks, Vijay. I'm going to hand over to you now.
Hey, thank you, Madeline. Can you hear me well? Just a sound check.
Yes, 100%.
That's great. Yeah, and thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Before I share my perspective on how you can leverage advanced edge security solution to protect your multi-enterprise data exchanges, I would like to start off with a basic question: why security matters for your managed file transfer? So Madeline, if you can advance one slide. Chris, can you advance one slide, please? Okay, great. Yeah, a quick disclaimer. Throughout this presentation, I am going to I will probably be referencing some of the future directions, plans on the Sterling Secure Proxy product and in general. So this disclaimer is from the IBM side that those future plans can be withdrawn without notice, and those are at the IBM's sole discretion. So with that disclaimer out of the way, Chris, if you can advance one more chart, I can kind of get to the topic that I was discussing. Okay. So let's briefly look at some of the statistics here to understand why security matters for your B2B exchanges and managed file transfer, right? So if you look at more than half of 55% of the internal and external system integrations today are accomplished via files. 88% of our organizations report that they are still challenged to move the big data quickly, efficiently, and effectively. There are 20% of the enterprise workloads that have already moved to the cloud, and it's growing, right? So basically, moving data efficiently over the internet is critical component for success in any business today. And security has been the key concern with every enterprise, regardless of industry they operate in this hyper-connected era. The 3.92 million, that number you see at the bottom of that quadrant, that's the global average cost per data breach per incident. And I want to drill down a little on my next chart, Chris, if you can advance. But basically, it's really very crucial to protect your brand reputation by implementing a very robust security mechanism for your B2B exchanges and file transfer operations. This chart kind of signifies that aspect a little bit more. So this is coming from a kind of a summary of the cost of the data breach report for the entire of 2019 that IBM security team has conducted. And that 3.92 million is an average cost of the total data breach per incident, and that is averaged out across industries. But there are certain industries like banking, financial, health industry, energy. I was in the bottom right of the chart there. Those are some of the industries, those even have higher cost of the data breach. On an average, there are like 25,000 plus records that get compromised in any given data breach. There's also a trend that you can see of how it varies. It has come down a little for 2 years back, but then it's going high up again. But regardless, that number tells you what's the impact of any security data breach that happens across any industries, and how long it takes to kind of recover from that data breach, how long it takes to really identify the source of data breach. There's also another stat there. It takes about roughly 279 days, close to a year, to really identify and kind of put mitigations in place and so forth for any breach that you discover, right? Some of the other key findings here of that report, it's a really exhaustive report, and I would encourage you to look into it. But basically, when a security incident happens or a security breach is detected, the loss in business, that's the biggest contributor to the overall cost, right? And that incident is not just a sole kind of an event that happens and then you quickly recover and move on. No, it actually has a long-term impact. It impacts the brand reputation. It has an impact that stays for years and takes a longer period of time to recover from it, right? Another interesting aspect is the malicious attacks are still most expensive and common root cause, right? Getting an unauthorized access, getting and stealing your data, trying to halt your operations. Those kind of come from the malicious attacks. And one of the interesting aspect is the breaches from the system glitches or wrong configurations, human errors. Those are also still costing a million. So it's kind of encompasses all of it. But that's interesting to see. And what it really tells as the one key takeaway from this report that I have taken is automation. The more you automate your security configuration, that really puts in a lot of safety net and kind of reduces significantly the cost to recover as well as the cost to put the mitigation factors in place to avoid the data breach. Chris, can you advance one chart? So this is where IBM Sterling Secure Proxy comes into picture. It is the edge security solution for IBM Sterling's business-to-business and integration and managed file transfer offerings. IBM has been providing these market-leading MFT solutions like Connect Direct, which is for point-to-point file transfer, File Gateway for hub and spoke model of distribution, and B2B integration solutions like Sterling Integrator for orchestration of business processes and communication, partner engagement management to kind of onboard and manage your partners. And more than 2/3 of the top banks globally use these solutions with thousands of customers overall. Secure Proxy acts like a shield to protect the interactions that kind of flow or initiate within these solutions, while your enterprise deal with the external world for all your business exchanges. Please can I advance one chart? I would like to give a little bit of a brief on what is Sterling Secure Proxy, and majority of you probably have been already using it, but for some who is like looking at this at a fresh or have IBM's B2B collaboration solution footprint, but they still have not deployed Secure Proxy, I think it's a good refresher for them. So I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible. So Secure Proxy is basically a DMZ, demilitarized zone-based application proxy. And that protects your organizational file transfer from the public internet by enforcing the tighter controls that include trading partner authentication, multi-factor authentication, and session break, all before the transfer ever enters your trusted zone. It helps you incorporate the firewall navigation best practices and SSL session breaks to keep network and data transactions secure. So basically, it increases your perimeter security for an enterprise data movement infrastructure by shielding your trusted zone from the external attack, kind of preventing the direct exposure or the direct communication between partners and internal servers. It also helps consolidate and simplify the security management by providing a central authentication of partners and integrating with existing security infrastructure, thereby reducing total cost of ownership. Okay, this is at a high level. I'm going to drill down on what are the key capabilities of each one of them and how, like just what I said, how you can kind of achieve those in order to put a best security mechanisms in place. So before I get there, I'll also like to talk about some of the high-level value points of how you kind of get value out of it, right? So like I said, it makes it easier for you to meet the stricter security requirements, the government mandates, helps you with your audits and government regulations like HIPAA, SOX, PCI, etc., right? It's a critical element in protecting your enterprise. And what really does it enhances the security to help reduce risk for the enterprise by utilizing the best security practices and protecting against your unauthorized access. So that kind of helps reduce the data vulnerability and, like I said, support your audit and regulatory requirements. While at the same time helping you reduce your administrative and infrastructure cost, but also the costs to recover from a security incident, which comes out of fines and audit issues, etc. And lastly, it helps you increase speed of an onboarding trading partner to kind of achieve the faster revenue recognition. Okay, so basically, to make it simple, it leverages the internet to lower the file transfer cost and be able to confidently use and grow your file transfer community. Please do you want to advance one more chart, please? So this is a chart again, apologies for the busy chart here, but really explains the defense in depth approach that we have implemented with series of capabilities that you can leverage optionally within Secure Proxy. And again, these are not all the capabilities that we have, just highlighting few of them. You will see those 4 boxes and those different layers, like I said, that can be implemented optionally. You can configure it flexibly the way you want it, all 4, all 3, or whatever mechanisms you want to put in place. The white text is Secure Proxy has been existing for more than a decade in the market, right? The white text shows some of the key capabilities that have been existing for a long time. And the yellow text that you see here are some of the recent capabilities that we added in last 12 to 18 months on top of the rich set of capabilities that you already had. And this is on the left side of the chart that you see here, right? So we have this best-in-class DMZ security, right? We provide the SSL session termination. We have strong encryption with support for a broad range of ciphers. We keep updating that release over release. And we always have followed the principle of no data ever gets stored in the DMZ. Even with the new capability of the virus scanning capability that we implemented, I'll talk about it in a while. Even there, we are not storing any data within the DMZ subnetwork. So that really provides an unexceptional, unparalleled security mechanisms for you. In terms of advanced authentication, we support different levels of multi-factor, multi-channel authentication support. We also added the single sign-on support for external identity providers. I'm going to talk about it a little on my next chart, but that is based off the SAML 2.0. So that allows you to kind of leverage your existing identity providers that you already have put in place. We validate the connections, and we have some advanced capabilities of doing that, like command filtering, blocking the URL exploits, CRL checks, and so forth. But we also built in the block listing capabilities based on the user IDs and IP patterns. We also added the ability to kind of validate the incoming connections IPs real time, so that you know that if they are not coming from any sanctioned countries, or you can pop it right there while they are actually establishing or trying to establish a connection. If you step back and look, when you talk about Sterling Secure Proxy or any proxy solution, we look at, hey, this is kind of an IT security admin or a security persona kind of and solution, he would be worried about it, or he has something to do about it. But it's not. We actually looked into how the data breach impacts the whole organization. And when you try to put those security mechanisms in place to kind of prevent those security incidents or prevent the exposure to the security risk, there are all kind of personas that get involved in this, right? And it's at the end of the day, it's a deployment. So you have to think through right from how, where, when it gets deployed to how it gets configured, when does it come into picture, and so on and so forth, right? So it really impacts broad set of personas and helps them answer their basic questions or kind of perform their basic duties. Like for an IT security manager, here's one of the questions would be, how can I design a reliable and compliant security architecture for his MFT applications? And again, regardless of where it is deployed, on-premises, hybrid cloud, spread across multiple cloud, on the edge, private cloud, with a set of different cloud vendors. It's really a complex world out there in terms of deployment. So Secure Proxy kind of answers this question. We are kind of omnipresent. I'm going to talk about the advanced containers that we provide on Secure Proxy that makes your life easy to flexibly deploy the solutions across multiple clouds or across to choose the deployment of your choice. Secondly, for an MFT admin, again, these are the sample personas here. His primary question is, how can he effectively or efficiently configure and manage secure file exchanges with the trading partners over the internet or wide range of protocols? Your trading partners come from all different places, right? And come from all different standards. They would want to use the different protocols to exchange information, files, and so on and so forth. How can he centrally manage those configurations coming from all directions, right? That's his core question, and Secure Proxy is the answer for that. You can easily configure through the user interfaces all those incoming connections and so forth. So, and kind of put all the security, all the optional security measures in place for different protocols and kind of automate those even further. And at the end of the day, line of business user is what it matters. He would not look into what's under the hood, but he would want to assure speedy onboarding of his trading partners, uninterrupted information exchanges without kind of risking his brand reputation. And that's what exactly it does. Once you automate, once you configure it well, you don't have to kind of keep manually tinkering it or kind of worry about it, right? It's kind of an end user, the line of business user, or the businesses can kind of be assured that whatever information that they're getting is kind of uncompromised, is secure, and they can rely on that information. Chris, do you want to advance one more chat, please? So one of the questions that during my conversation with customers or someone who is looking at Secure Proxy with a fresh set of eyes, they would ask, and probably it's to do with the name, right? When you talk about proxy, I mean, the perimeter server is something that anyone would think about, right? They would say, hey, we have all the encryptions in place. We have the perimeter server set up in the DMZ. Do I really need a Sterling Secure Proxy? And this is a chart kind of explains what are the additional set of things that Sterling Secure Proxy provides on top of the perimeter servers, right? No doubt, perimeter servers kind of helps mask the internal system addresses. It kind of, if you set in the cities, it kind of allows persistent tunnel for more trusted to the less trusted zone, and probably also would allow, if you really configure it that way, to reserve some high priority access for specific clients, exactly like that, for load balancing in each multiple PS instances. But what Secure Proxy does, it does all of that. It comes bundled with perimeter server and does more, right? I won't repeat myself here, but the things like session breaks in DMZ, right? The authentication that happens within the DMZ, right? The blacklisting capabilities, the single sign-on, the integration with hardware security module, right? The integrations with LDAP. So all of those is kind of an added and incremented value, incremented capabilities on top of perimeter server. So to really build that watertight solution and ensure that you can configure things well from the security perspective, and you can kind of make use of the best in security practices, Secure Proxy is still needed. And on top of those additional authentication, what I just mentioned, you will have more authentication, more security capabilities like virus scanning, right? validating those connections, making sure that whatever is coming inside is trusted, trustworthy, is one aspect of it. But when it comes in and lands in the trusted zone, how will you make sure that it's not malicious, right? There's nothing hidden within those information that's lying in your trusted zone. So the virus scanning capabilities and additional other capabilities like protocol inspection, command filtering are all part of those advanced set of capabilities, right? And also not to ignore about the real-time system health and so basically our surround solutions like control center monitor kind of keeps track of if secure proxy and the peripheral components like Sterling authentication server, these are all working fine, they're up and running because that's what you're relying on. There's also an ability to kind of monitor those systems as well as monitor your logs within secure proxy for your auditing purposes. So whoever is accessing, establishing connections, file transfer, so you have a rich set of those logs stored so that during auditing, you can kind of dig in those information and kind of help build a trail of information that's needed for auditing purposes. One other capability, the high-speed add-on, is something that only Secure Proxy will do. With all the exchanges that happens through the connect direct protocol, Secure Proxy kind of covers that aspect as well. So it's the only solution, the only proxy solution that covers the connect direct, the file exchanges or connect direct protocol. So basically what I'm saying is all pluses that you see is it kind of delivers a very high and incremented value over the perimeter servers that are commonly deployed as a part of an edge security solution. And perimeter servers still are the first line of defense. However, Secure Proxy will ensure that you are protected even further and you keep all the security threats at the bay. Please turn to advance one more, Chan. One other aspect and this is again like the second common question that's being asked these days is we talk about the edge security, and traditionally we are seeing the financial and regulated industries primarily, and even other industries who have trading with the sensitive data. They're largely being on premises or local data centers, of their own data centers established. And protecting their edge of the transaction that happens on the edge of their premises is important, and that's where Secure Proxy has been playing a very crucial role so far. But now, like I said, when when the things are kind of shifting, getting distributed, organizations traditionally, even very conservative organizations, will keep their data to themselves, have started offloading their less sensitive data over the cloud. It's kind of a hybrid world today, right? So there are certain security solutions that the cloud vendor would provide. Take Amazon, take Azure, take Google, take IBM Cloud for that matter. They have a certain set of the security measures in place. So when you start deploying your B2B and the file transfer, file exchange solutions on top of the cloud environment, is Secure Proxy relevant? And I would say, based on our experience and based on what we are dealing with the customers who are moving to cloud, Secure Proxy is even more critical for cloud deployments. And these are some of the reasoning that you can see here. I'll quickly go through one by one. First of all, when you start dealing with the cloud deployments, you'd notice that they usually follow the flat network architecture, especially when you talk about the containerization and the containerized deployment over a container platform or container engine. They primarily have a good security mechanisms with the data exchanges via HTTP traffic. But they might have to add on to kind of protect those the data exchanges or other protocols, right? And Connect Direct being one of it. Like I said, no other no cloud platform today supports Connect Direct protocol for the protection for the file exchanges for Connect Direct protocol for high-speed file transfers natively. Only Secure Proxy does that. And with what all the things that Secure Proxy does on premises on the edge, like adding those layers of different securities and layers and controls, it can do the same in the cloud, helping reduce the attack surface and filter out the traffic. Remember, on cloud, you are even more exposed out there, right? And the more you do, I think the better it is to be to get that peace of mind and kind of minimize your risk of exposure there. And secure proxy kind of like in an on-premises world, it sits on the front of the network and support that software-defined network-based architecture to provide that unparalleled security to the B2B assets on the cloud. You can actually architect the way you have done. You really have, I mean, majority of our customers I've seen have laid out that layered architecture on premises, and they would want to kind of lift and shift and follow the same principle on the cloud, even though the cloud standards might vary a little. But in terms, when you think of security, that architecture has been time tested, proven well. And if you want to kind of follow the same principle on the cloud, I think Secure Proxy is well suited for that and well designed. It's also qualified for the Sterling's B2B collaboration cloud suite. So I mentioned right in the beginning about Connect Direct, File Gateway, ITX, B2B Integrator. So all of those solutions today are offered as a certified container, right, on our Red Hat OpenShift platform, as well as they can run on other standard Kubernetes enterprise grade platform. I'm going to talk about a little bit more on my next chart, but those are containerized solutions, and those are getting deployed as containers on the cloud of their choice. People are deploying on Amazon, on IBM Cloud. They're getting a private cloud setup for themselves. So while they're doing it, we as Secure Proxy, which also can be deployed as a container, is kind of qualified for those configurations. So you don't have to kind of then tinker with or kind of explore what the cloud vendor security solution is and kind of try to configure it and see things work or not. It's out of the box. You take SSP along with your other solutions and just deploy it on the cloud. You don't have to worry about it, because we have taken care of all the qualification of all the cloud configurations that might possibly exist with the best architecture in place. And we are evolving over a period of time. As we are learning more, we are evolving, and we are kind of qualifying all the possible deployment patterns that we could. And last but not least, already mentioned, so all the security features, advanced features that we added in the last 12 to 18 months, like wireless scanning and real-time IP validation and so forth, those are all available in the cloud as well. So we are not losing anything if you're going on the cloud. And that is how I would say it's even, the solution is even more critical for the cloud deployments, and you would want to leverage that when you're thinking of shifting to the cloud. Okay. Can you advance one chart, please? So I have two set of charts kind of to talk. I've been referring to what we did in last 12 to 18 months. So this is, I picked up the 4 key enhancements that we have built in the last 2 releases that were pretty significant for Secure Proxy, right? And those capabilities are kind of, if you compare last several years, has been a lot of things that we added in last 2 years as compared to last probably the prior 2 years, right? We've also kind of shifted the series, the version from 3.4 for Secure Proxy and 2.4 for SEAS. SEAS stand for the Sterling External Authentication Server, which is an advanced authentication component that's commonly deployed. It's an optional, but it's commonly deployed alongside Sterling Secure Proxy or any B2B collaboration solutions that IBM provides. So we bumped the release number to 6.0. And 6.0 series to kind of, so a couple of reasons to do that, to kind of align with the other solution offerings that are all running 6.0 series. That's one. And secondly, if you look at the list of the changes that we made, the new features that we added, it's really a significant release for us. It helps improve the compliance level with your organizational security policies, builds in that proactive security against the breaches, and also enhances the performance of the file transfers, extending your higher level scenario. So those are a couple of highlights of what we did in 6.0. This was back in 2019. And I'll quickly talk about each one of those. So first of all, the single sign-on, right? So this is, we expanded our single sign-on support to include the external identity provider or the federation services like say Microsoft Active Directory, the CA Suite, Oracle Identity Federation, and probably 50 others which are based off the SAML 2.0 specification. This basically helps you authenticate your users using your corporate portal. And if you do that, you possibly may not have to log in again while accessing IBM's MFT system. The bigger benefits include, again, like I said, improving the compliance because you are adhering to your organizational single sign-on identity provider. And also bring your operation costs down by being able to authenticate centrally. The second one is around block listing. I call it as proactive security because this is being able to restrict the suspicious users that are based on the IP IDs, IP address or IP address pattern. So you can actually set. So if you think you have a certain set of IP addresses that you do not want connections to be established with, you can create that list, right? You can also create a list of users or user ID pattern, and those some customers have been using it to kind of block the users, the test users or users that kind of the probing users, right? You don't want to be really connecting them to your production systems. So it basically builds that an extra safety layer where the authentication does not happen for those connections coming from those the IPs or users or user ID patterns. It doesn't even make an authentication atom, so saving system and very significant time in terms of improving the performance, right? So such authentications are filtered beforehand, and it becomes difficult for them to kind of gain access to the internal systems, right? So this again improves overall security aspect, helps protect the brand reputation by avoiding any risk event by someone trying to gain an access by making a repeated attempts to log in and so forth. We also enhanced this feature further by the real-time API validation. I'll talk about it in my next chart. As the third one, the C's API. So it's basically it's another key addition that allows an authorized client applications to interact with the C's server, right? Again, C's here is an external authentication server, which is an optional component to implement the extended authentication and validation services for IBM B2B and MFT solutions. And most of our customers, secure proxy customers, have deployed C's alongside. So I've built different REST APIs that I have been exposed, which can be used by any kind of application in order to perform those CRUD operations with respect to the C's configuration objects, right? Objects such as authentication, certification, validation are some of them which can be managed via these new APIs. The next one is around improved high availability scenario. This is again related to the C's. So Secure Proxy has been historically supporting the high availability architecture with C's component that's being used more often now. We have kind of supporting the failover mechanism so that the C's can be set up in a clustered environment and provide the high availability support. Please can I advance one more chart, please? So we continued enhancing that Secure Proxy after 6.0 initial release. 6.1 that came in early this year. One of the big things that we did is kind of providing the Secure Proxy certified containers in order to support those open, hybrid, and multi-cloud use cases that I was mentioning before. And we have qualified with the enterprise-ready container management platform, which is OpenShift. So basically, Secure Proxy is kind of a part of our other offerings, which are all available as certified containers today. I have a chart to talk a little bit more, so I'll hold on for more details on the certified containers and what I mean by certified containers. But let me quickly talk about the other three here. So the wireless scanning capabilities, this one basically has been one of the most requested and asked enhancement from our customers in the last several years. And it was really challenging to implement and being able to kind of design it in a way where it becomes more configurable and a user could balance security versus performance. So what I've done is, I mean, with the traditional approach, you could kind of put a scanning engine, reroute the file to the scanning engine and kind of land your file there, and the scanning engine will scan and bring it back. But what happens is when you land your file into your environment, the file is already in your trusted zone. And then it kind of becomes, it's already exposed to the risk if it's infected, right? So the way we are built in and leveraging the secure proxy for all the centralized scanning of the incoming files is we are given a configurations to set up your scanning engines within the DMZ subnetwork and configure it in a way flexibly that you can choose what files needs to be scanned and what files can directly go and land in either a quarantine zone or land into your trusted zone, right? So for smaller files where 95% of the chances of the malicious code residing is in the executables, the smaller files. The larger media files usually are not infected. So you could kind of set the size, the file types, configure it, configure your scanning engine that supports the ICAP protocol, and like the SAML 2.0 for SSO, ICAP protocol is kind of the majority of the scanning engines like McAfee, Symantec, all of those kind of support the ICAP. That's an industry standard protocol. So if it supports ICAP, you could kind of use that scanning engine and set it up and configure it flexibly into your environment and have that incoming files scanned before it kind of you route it or you get that back into your trusted zone. So that's a very powerful capability. We are supporting HTTP and SFTP protocols right now. Sorry, I'll take that back. We support SFTP and Connect Direct protocol right now. We'll soon be coming up with the HTTP protocol and then beyond, so that we have a good coverage of the files coming from different protocols. On the IP validation side, so we built a user exit where you can use the external services to validate the IP real time. Like you scan the incoming files for viruses, you kind of connect to the IP validation services like Akamai is one of them, where you can leverage the C's component, use those user exits and connect with the IP validation services while the connection is being established. And if found that that's not something that you would trust, you could disconnect. You can kind of break that connection right there and not really establish a connection. Forget about even the file exchanges. It happens even before that. So it's a real great enhancement for kind of which helps you connect to the external services and not worry about building your own huge list of IPs, and that might get outdated pretty quickly. And then there's the other one small but a very significant enhancements on improving monitoring. So basically it's the C's instance was not being monitored by Control Center application, the Sterling Control Center application. So we also added that. So in Control Center dashboard, you could see alongside the secure proxy server, you can also see the C server if it's functioning well and if it's up and running. So you have a clear picture of your systems are running okay if you are monitoring using Control Center monitor. Can you advance on the next chart, Chris? I think we are coming towards end. This probably is my last chart here. And just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what we are doing with the containers. When we have the we made a secure proxy container release back in January, and we continue to kind of enhance the containers. And what we do is basically for the enterprises like some of you who are shifting to the modern deployments, we are providing an advanced and robust container image that's qualified and runs seamlessly on the Red Hat OpenShift container platform. We kind of build in all these capabilities to manage the application lifecycle centrally and seamlessly, and give you a very powerful means of leveraging multi-cloud and hybrid cloud deployment scenarios. So this includes the steps from getting an image into an environment to installing it, monitoring for new updates, upgrades, and rollbacks are all needed. And as many of you know, the whole container philosophy, it kind of makes the whole deployment management seamless. We have gone a step further to make it even more consistent, even more user-friendly by leveraging the advanced capabilities, the open source technologies that's built in the OpenShift platform. So in interest of time, I won't go deep, but I'll talk three things about it. So these are the out-of-the-box containers that we support on any Kubernetes platform. And since we qualify on Red Hat OpenShift, if you use OpenShift, it gives you that portability where you can start on premises, and if you want to shift things on cloud, you can use the cloud instance of OpenShift, and you can have the same deployment lifecycle management experience as you had on premises. And again, you would not use just secure proxy in isolation, right? You would have series of other softwares of containers that you would be managing on that platform. So it makes things easier. We certify it. Certify means there are a lot of software, different technology stack that we use. The Docker engine, the Helm chart, which is the packaging manager, the package automation, and we kind of assess the containers for additional security compliance and version compatibility, right? There are several open source components, so those are constantly evolving, but we follow the IBM's stricter guidelines on the certification to choose the best and the stable and the latest technology stack. And finally, the run anywhere concept. You use Red Hat OpenShift, you don't worry about what cloud you choose today or in future. So it kind of makes it omnipresent. So basically adds value, building speed and flexibility, lowering your operational costs, and also lowering your risk and help you adopt the open standards. So with that, I will think that was my last chart. Chris, if you can advance one, just to confirm. Okay, just a closing chart. Again, with what I said, just wrapping it up, security is the most requirement for your B2B transactions and file exchanges and to protect them from the external threats. Secure Proxy provides the best of breed edge security solutions for the IBM's entire B2B and MFT portfolio. And the 6.0 series, that's initiative we are providing, we're adding capabilities at a faster pace, which will impart security and reliability to your enterprise file exchanges. So go ahead, deploy Secure Proxy if you haven't done it yet. If you already are using Secure Proxy, get the latest version to kind of adopt those new capabilities that we have built in and protect your B2B asset against the internet risk. With that, I'll probably open up for Q&A. Sorry, I left a little less time, but I hope this was useful for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay. We'll start with our panel discussion now. If you have any questions, please leave it in the chat box or email it.
Hi, Vijay. It's Michael here.
Hey, Michael.
So I just have a few questions. I'm not going to waste, so we don't have a lot of time. So I'll just get through the questions that we have for now. So what scan solutions can we use along with Sterling Secure Proxy antivirus scanning feature?
Oh, that's a good question. And I did cover it a little bit. So basically, instead of kind of qualify, we do qualify with one or two scanning engines. I think we qualified with McAfee, Semantic is on our radar. But basically, we have built the scanning engine to the ICAP standards, right? The ICAP protocol. So any scanning engine that supports ICAP, and most of it, because majority of customers who have come back use this edge scanning engine, can it work? Does it support ICAP? Go look at the product information. Yes, it does. Then you will be able to configure it. So we are not tying with a list of the scanning engines. It's basically, we are tying with the standard. So any scanning engine that follows or supports ICAP standard that can be configured with Secure Proxy for scanning those incoming files.
Okay, great. So as long as we follow the standards, it should work. So what external identity providers do SSP support for the single sign-on feature?
Right. So that again follows the same principle. So we are again tying with the SAML 2.0 standards. So any identity providers, and some of them I listed, Shibboleth, Microsoft, some Oracle identity provider, even the one identity provider coming from IBM. So those support SAML standards. So the CA identity suite, that's one of, again, a common one that I keep hearing about. So as long as it supports the SAML 2.0 standards, you would be able to configure Secure Proxy for your single sign-on requirements.
Okay, great. So last question from my side. So how do I define the IP block listing? Is it something that we just add into an IP or add an IP address into a specific list?
That is correct. So you in the Secure Proxy the configuration manager screens, we have given a user interface to kind of build that list and keep editing that as needed. So the way you build the list is you add all the IP. If you know the exact IP addresses that you want to block connections with, maybe maybe you know for sure that certain IPs are hitting too often, and those look suspicious to you. Probably block it and let's see if you want to release it or not. So you can add those IP addresses. If you have a IP address pattern that you want to block entire series of those IP addresses, then you can use the pattern, right? At the same time, you can also put the user names and the user IDs, sorry, and their patterns as well, so that it kind of gives you flexibility and you can build those. And this is all UI based. This is not a property or command line interface. This is within the user interface. You can actually define those interfaces. I got Naru on the call, who's a secure proxy architect. Do you want to add anything on the IP block listing capability?
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. Yes, so not only, as Vijay mentioned, not only through GUI, but you can also use the REST API feature, so you could automatically update that list more quickly too. So that maintain that list. And also, as mentioned earlier, Vijay in his presentation, custom existing you can create in Cs, which can connect to other providers of IP blocking and dynamically blocking, IP connections coming from sanctioned places, things like that.
Thank you, Naru.
Thank you, guys. I think that's all the questions we have time for today. As I've mentioned, we will get back to you on any other questions.
Hi guys, sorry. I think I lost my sound there for a second.
No problem.
I don't have any more questions from my side.
Okay, no problem, Michael. We've covered the questions. Chris, you can move to the next slide. I think we would like to get in touch with you to see how we can actually add value in your environment. Maybe schedule a demo or a workshop. So you can get in touch with us. And then next slide, please, Chris. We'll also share with you our next webinar sessions, and we hope you'll be able to join for that as well. And then I just wanted to say thank you for your time again today, and we're looking forward to taking this further in your environment.